Hey guys, how's it going? So I'm back. I'm going to read chapter 25, Killher. So let's get into it. Um, so here, stand right there. Don't move. I watched as her chest heaved and danced with the rosary around her neck. She stood there naked and trembling in her own sweat and the dry air. She stood there naked and trembling in her own sweat and the dry air. I wrote on her stomach, "Kill her," with a pale pink lipstick I found in her purse. She looked she looked better with her clothes on, don't you agree? He smiled and held me with his eyes. I walked up to her, her body against mine, her hair stood on edge beautifully. I grasped her neck and played with the crevice in her throat. Then I slid my fingers around her neck. She closed her eyes. I rubbed my hands around the back of her head. Then I backed away and placed my finger on her lips. Then I placed my hand around her mouth. Then I slammed her head against the wall. Blood splattered on the canvas as if I had killed a little bug. Just she wasn't dead. She sat on the floor holding herself, bleeding, crying, her skin bruising. I picked her up, then I slammed her against the same part on the wall. Again, a bigger splatter, a deader bug. She withered to the floor, lying there, barely conscious. I picked her up and she resisted. I slapped her and slammed her head again. Now the back of her head, bleeding, sticky, a mess. River had gotten a seat and I didn't even notice. He sat there watching with a look of amusement and joy. "Is this entertaining you?" He smiled. I took my hair out of the ponytail and asked myself out loud. Does no one answer my questions? I smiled to myself, then I looked at him with admiration. I sat on his lap. Thank you. I kissed him to show my appreciation, and he kissed back to show me how he felt. So that's Killher. So when she writes Killher on her stomach, it's kill her, Her. So that was kind of like a nice play on words, so to speak, because she's a killer, but they're gonna kill her. Sorry, I'm a little nerd. So with this chapter, again, kind of getting to see the relationship between Aelin and River, and the bigger splatter deader bug. I've heard people say that they've liked that. I think my ex specifically had said I really liked that scene because, again, I had read this chapter. And again, see, there's the rosary around her neck, and just her falling to the floor and getting picked up, and the concept of like a canvas where this bug is being like hurt or killed, so to speak. And then for another note, I said I should make kill her a lowercase to complement the 1 second a few pages before. Not really sure why I said that. But yeah, so that's this for that chapter. I don't have any more notes to kind of say on it because, again, it kind of spoke for itself. She got to hold the crevice, played with the crevice in her throat. So again, I unintentionally, again, I can't stress this enough. For me as a writer, I'm not really sure about anyone else, but nothing's intentional. When it starts to become intentional, it begins to become pretentious or something like that. And I'll speak on that in a second, but I do like that unintentionally I had her continuously playing with this throat concept. So again, speaking of pretentious or things eating itself, so speaking again on the environment class that I have, or even the movie Alienation, like I'd watched a lot of reviews for it. A lot of people didn't like it. They don't like when people are trying to be too smart or something like that. And I always kind of say, when I want to get something across, when I want to like trip, and get like a really big idea out there, I start to eat myself. Like I have this little infinity necklace. Again, my birthday's born on the 8th. That's why I like the number and stuff like that. But my point is that like when you're trying to explain something, you're like, yeah, that makes so much sense. That makes so much, and then at some point or another, it just eats itself. And there's like this thing about living where you can't, like, the question you want to answer so much doesn't have an answer. You can ask it, you can put so many words out there for it, and then somehow or another it just becomes foolishness. You just sound like an idiot. You just sound like you come back to where you began. And that's what I'm trying so hard to avoid with this book, is like I want it to be deep. I want there to be like an intense meaning to it. Like I think of giving this to, say, my kids, to be like, yo, this is my like concept of this life. I'm sorry I brought you in here. I know you're gonna be like super stressed out and like pissed off sometimes, and sometimes it'll be beautiful, but like really and truly, like this is what I wrote, this is my experience, but like there won't be an answer, there won't be an explanation. Like again, sorry to anyone that's like super religious or anything, so no insult there, but like from my experience of trying so hard to find an answer, it just comes into this like void of nothing. Like the answer is nothing. So again, I'm going into this eating myself, like I said, and I like that concept with annihilation too, where it's just like at some point or another, like you just end, you just eat yourself, it just stops at some point. And again, going back to this book, you see so much death, you know what I mean? You see so much, say, ego. It's like, why did they deserve to die? Because they killed someone. So again, I'll play with this concept too, where it's just like, why am I tripping out so much that I need to be writing about people dying? Like, why is my ego so out of whack that like I'm so frustrated I need to express myself this way? And how like eventually that's just a destruction of me as well, is kind of where I falter as in my mind. So I'll stop here. I'll go on to the next chapter. I want to say there's maybe 1 or 2 chapters before this scene comes to an end. So I'll read that next. It's chapter 26, and it's called Bravado and Tears. So thank you for listening to this one. Peace. See you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.